Mountaineering is the only sport where victory means just one thing. You survived. There's no silver, no bronze. Only those who made it back and those who stayed up there forever. The mountains don't forgive mistakes. They don't forgive weakness. They don't even forgive luck once it's gone. In any other sport, losing means disappointment. Here, losing means death. And the cruelest part, the mountains never give their dead back. Bodies remain where they fell, on the slopes, in the crevasses, buried under snow. Some lie there for decades, turning into frozen mummies that new climbers pass on their way to the top. The mountains are a graveyard without graves, without crosses. Women die in the mountains just like men do. Maybe even more often, their names are spoken with a special kind of sorrow. Natalia Nogovitsina, Victory Peak, 24,000 feet, 2004. Chantal Maudouit, Everest, 2009. Hannelore Schmatz, Everest, 1979. Her body stayed at around 27,000 feet for years, seen by almost everyone heading for the summit. Shreya Shah Chlorfine, Everest, 2012. Born in Nepal, she climbed as a Canadian. These names are known to anyone who's ever seriously thought about the Great Mountains. Their stories are told to newcomers as warnings, reminders of the price. Laura Dahlmeier knew those stories, every single one of them. She had read about them, heard them from other climbers, seen the photos. She knew perfectly well that in the mountains, the odds of not coming back can be higher than the odds of returning alive. And still, she went. Not because she was reckless, not because she underestimated the danger, but because for people like her, the mountains aren't just a sport. They're the place where you find out who you really are, where fear, pain, and exhaustion burn away everything unnecessary until there's nothing left but you and the summit. Laura Dahlmeier was a champion, Olympic, world, absolute. She had beaten everyone there was to beat. Then she decided to beat herself, and the mountains accepted that challenge. Laura was born on August 22, 1993, in Garmisch-Partenkirchen, a Bavarian town in the Alps where the mountains aren't scenery, they're part of life. Here, kids learn to ski before they can read. Winter lasts half the year, and snow is just the default state of the world. At 7, Laura was already training in biathlon and alpine skiing. Not for fun, seriously, with discipline, structure, and a clear goal. Her parents were athletes too. They understood. If you want to achieve something, you start early and never stop. Laura never stopped. At 19, she made her World Cup debut, the top league of biathlon, where only a handful make it. Competition here is brutal. Germans, Norwegians, Swedes, Russians, French, Belarusians. Every race decided by fractions of a second. One missed shot, one wrong turn, and you're out of the top 10. Laura broke into the top 10, then the top 5, then the podium. By 23, she was the undisputed world champion, 7 times over. She won the World Cup in 2016 and again in 2017. She did what no one else had done before, 5 gold medals at a single world championship. Every title in every individual race across 2 consecutive championships. It wasn't just success, it was domination. Then came the 2018 Olympics in Pyeongchang. 6 starts, sprint, pursuit, individual, mass start, and 2 relays. 2 gold medals back-to-back, sprint and pursuit, something no woman in biathlon had ever achieved before, plus a bronze in the 15-kilometer individual race. 3 medals in 1 Olympics. Germany celebrated. The whole country was talking about her. She was only 24, her form, perfect, her reflexes, instant, her shooting, flawless like a sniper's. At the finish line, she collapsed into the snow, exhausted but happy. Everything she'd dreamed of had come true. The Olympic peaks were conquered. For most athletes, that's where the legend begins. For Laura, it was the end. A year later, in May 2019, she announced her retirement. No drama, no big speech. Just said she no longer felt that pure, 100% passion you need to stay at the top. And that was it. The biathlon world was stunned. Fans couldn't believe it, but Laura smiled and walked away. For good. Because she'd realized something simple. Winning against others isn't the same as winning against yourself. She had beaten the world, but the mountains were still waiting for their turn. And up there, titles don't matter. Everyone starts from 0. No one cares how many gold medals you've won. The only thing that counts is whether you survive. After leaving professional sports, Laura enrolled at the Technical University of Munich, majoring in sports science. She wanted to understand movement, the physiology of endurance, the psychology of victory, not to become a coach, but for herself. She lived in a student dorm, just a normal room, a normal life. No cameras, no interviews, no fans waiting outside. She ordered pizza, went to yoga with classmates, passed her exams. For the first time in years, she was simply a person, not an Olympic champion, and she liked it. She even wrote a children's book called The Climate Gang. The main characters were Finn the polar bear, Ali the moray eel, Biddy the bee, and Kitty Kibitz, a little girl who traveled with them, teaching kids about nature, ecology, and why it matters to take care of our planet. Laura presented the book at the Frankfurt Book Fair, the largest in the world. A completely different audience. Not sports fans, not Olympic crowds, just people who love stories. It looked like she had found a new path, quiet, calm, safe, but the mountains never let go. Even during her athletic career, Laura had started going into the mountains, not for medals, but for herself. It was her way to switch off after races. Silence instead of a stadium, snow instead of tracks, breathing instead of applause. At first, it was simple routes, then came the real summits. In 2016, Laura set out to climb her first 6,000er in Nepal. The air was razor thin, her head throbbed, her fingers went numb. Every breath felt like sucking air through a straw. The glacier beneath her feet was alive, its cracks hidden under a thin crust of snow. One wrong step, and you're gone. But Laura held steady. She placed her crampons with precision, trusting her instinct. Her first serious test, and her first victory. Olympic endurance worked here too. In 2017, Peru. The summit of Tocolaraju, just over 19,000 feet. The Andes can deceive you, blazing sun by day, biting frost by night. The slopes were covered with ice spires, penitents. They shattered under her boots, every step sounding like broken glass. At the ridge, a cornice. She moved along the edge, hundreds of meters of empty air below her. Still, she never lost rhythm. Calm, focused, no panic. That's when she understood for the first time. The mountains aren't just a view from above. They're a language you have to learn. That same year, Liscombe, 14,500 feet in the Alps. A mountain known as the killer of the inexperienced. A narrow ridge with sheer drops on both sides. One step left, an abyss. One step right, another. Wind howled, snow swirled, but Laura stayed composed. She knew how to fight fatigue. In biathlon, she'd finished hundreds of races like this. Where others lose focus, she kept her aim cold and steady. In 2019, the Petit Dru and Mont Blanc. On the Dru, rockfall starts without warning. The mountain literally breathes. The sun warms the rock, and then the rain of stones begins. On Mont Blanc, the Grand Couloir, the place where seconds decide whether you live or die. You step in only at dawn while the stones are still asleep. Hesitate, and they wake up. Laura crossed the couloir perfectly. No mistakes, no panic. She wasn't chasing heroics, she was calculating, and that mindset saved her more than once. By 2020, she had moved on to technical routes. Ice, mixed terrain, full protection, serious stuff. The tools froze in her hands, snow turned to stone. Spindrift, that dry, blinding snow, tore at her legs, filled her eyes, muffled every sound. But she never lost her rhythm. Every move was deliberate. This wasn't biathlon anymore. This was survival school. In 2022, the Ötztal Valley in Tyrol, Laura was training as a mountain rescuer. She learned how to work with pulleys, knots, anchors. These weren't glamorous peaks. They were far more dangerous. In training, even the best can fall. One wrong knot, and the rope whips out of your hand. She learned how to help others, not just herself. By then, she wasn't just a climber, she was a professional. In 2023, Mount Ararat, a little over 16,800 feet. The mountain looks kind until you start climbing. The wind hits like a turbine. Rocks are glazed with ice. The sun reflects off the snow and blinds you. At the summit, stillness, silence. Laura stood where, according to legend, Noah's Ark came to rest. To her, it wasn't a symbol, just another step higher. Then, Peak Korzenevskaya, 23,300 feet. a serious climb. The air stabbed her lungs, each step fought for. Snow lay in layers, with crevasses yawning beneath like open jaws. The wind screamed, the tent rattled, her face burned from the frost. And still, she kept going, methodical, calm. Laura could have conquered every mountain in the world, if not for the last one. Peak Communism, 24,600 feet. She climbed, but the weather broke. Storm, wind, temperature crashing down. She made the call to turn back. The right decision again. Because strength in the mountains isn't about pushing to the end. It's knowing when to stop. Laura knew that. She respected the mountain, and that's why, until Leila, she'd never had a serious accident. Every time, she turned back in time. Every time, she survived. But in the Caracorum, the mountains play by different rules. By then, she had dozens of climbs behind her, from Elbrus to the Alps, and none of them were tourist hikes. Laura climbed like a pro, with ropes, partners, and an athlete's discipline. 2 years after leaving biathlon, she earned her certification as a mountain and ski guide. Later, as a rescuer. Not a weekend course, but full professional training. Rope systems, casualty evacuation, first aid at altitude. Now, when a call comes in from the Alps or Tyrol, someone stranded on a slope, among the rescuers heading out might be her. Laura Dahlmeier, the Olympic champion who once traded ski tracks for glaciers. Her hobby had become her profession, her love for the mountains, her life's purpose. She was no longer a beginner. She entered the mountains like a professional, reading clouds, listening to the wind, touching the snow with her glove, and knowing instantly whether the slope would hold. She chose routes not for how beautiful they looked, but for weather windows and reserves of strength. The photo came last. Safety came first. And beside that world was Robert Grayseger, quiet, stubborn, precise. For a long time, they moved side by side, shared plans, maps spread across the table, arguments about gear, a checklist of ropes stuck to the fridge. Then their paths diverged. It happens. But the mountains remain their common language. 2022, Patagonia. The peaks there aren't tall, but they're wild. The wind tears tents like paper. Snow doesn't fall in flakes. It crashes down in walls. The slopes live their own life, still one moment, moving the next. No warning, no music before the fall. Robert was moving along a familiar line of the slope, testing each step, shifting his crampon, breathing in rhythm. Just another day, just another climb. And then, everything changed. The snow cracked sharp and dry, like a snapped branch. The slope spoke and started to move. A white curtain dropped over him. At that speed, no one fights. They're simply taken. The message reached Laura while she was home. No drama, no headlines. Just a few words, coordinates, a date, and silence. She sat down, the way people sit when the sound suddenly disappears from the world. They weren't together anymore, yes. But that didn't make it hurt less. He was still part of her story, part of her mountains. She processed it like an athlete, honestly. No emotional posts, no interviews, only quiet talks with close friends. Long walks, sweat-soaked training sessions, a notebook filled not with plans, but with questions. Why? What for? What if? Patagonia left a mark on her, like a crampon pressed into soft ice. Not a scar, but a memory. Not a ban, but respect. Now every slope was more than a goal. It was a responsibility. She changed her checklists, added time buffers, reduced hero moments, paid even closer attention to details. The temperature of the snow, the sound beneath her crampons, the shadow of a passing cloud on the opposite ridge. Most of all, she stopped speaking in slogans. No more, "The mountains are waiting for us." Instead, she said, "The mountains aren't in a hurry." And she didn't hurry either. But she didn't walk away from them, because for her, a mountain wasn't an attraction or a borrowed kind of glory. It was a language, the one she understood best. Pain became discipline. Loss became experience. And when she would again find herself on a steep, cold face, we'd see a different Laura, the same in spirit, but sharper in her awareness of life. That awareness would later decide everything, when she'd have to turn back at 19,000 feet and choose not the summit, but survival. But Laura didn't quit. She spoke about it openly. What happened was a tragedy. But giving up mountaineering was never an option. She'd been in critical situations before, and every time, she came out on top. It's not bravado, it's not denial, it's a choice. Some people see death as a warning and step back. Laura saw it as a reminder that life is short, and wasting it on things that don't matter is just foolish. The mountains mattered, to her, completely. And she stepped toward them, not away from pain, but through it. 2025, Laura flew to Pakistan. This wasn't a tourist trip, it was a serious expedition, a chain of demanding climbs. Pakistan means the Caracorum, one of the harshest mountain ranges on Earth. Here stands K2, the second highest peak in the world, and by many accounts, the most dangerous. 1 in 4 who try to climb an 8,000er here never come back. 25% mortality. Every ascent, a roll of the dice. But Laura wasn't chasing glory. She was chasing what she called the spirit of adventure. In one interview, she spoke bluntly against commercial mountaineering, especially Everest climbs, where tourists line up in queues to the summit. People pay tens of thousands of dollars, guided by Sherpas, following fixed ropes and ready-made camps. Laura said it clearly. In mountaineering, what matters is a certain spirit of adventure, a certain solitude, the freedom to choose your own route, and athletic spontaneity. She didn't want to stand in line. She wanted to find her own way. On June 28th, she posted photos of the mountains on social media. The caption was short: training and preparation for the next big expedition goal. In the pictures, the sharp peaks of the Caracorum, glaciers, sheer faces, beauty that takes your breath away, and danger no filter can hide. On July 8th, Laura successfully summited Tarango Tower, 20,600 feet. Not just a number, a technically brutal climb, a vertical tower of rock, walls dropping for a kilometer below. Every move required focus, strength, skill. One mistake, and it's over. Laura climbed clean, no slips, no panic. Pure control. She was strong, confident, ready for what came next. Her next goal, Leila Peak, just under 20,000 feet, small compared to the giants of the Himalayas. But the number doesn't tell the story. It's one of the most beautiful and most dangerous peaks in the Caracorum. Sharp as a needle, steep as a wall, almost no one's heard of it. It's not Everest, not K2, not Manaslu. In the news, it's mentioned vaguely. Some mountain in Pakistan. There are no crowds lining up for Leila Peak, no fixed ropes, no guided groups, no tourist camps. There's only the mountain, and this mountain will be the last place anyone sees Laura Dahlmeier alive. But she doesn't know that yet. For now, she's just preparing, checking her gear, studying the route, discussing the plan with her climbing partner, Marina Kraus, a strong and experienced mountaineer she's climbed with many times before. They're confident, skilled, they know what they're doing. And Leila Peak is waiting. Leila rises in the heart of the Caracorum, not far from K2, near the border between China and Kashmir. And Kashmir isn't just a point on a map. It's a disputed territory between Pakistan and India, a region where conflicts still flare up from time to time. We won't go into politics, but it's worth remembering. Leila sits just south of the junction of Mashabrum and Chogolisa, the mountain where the legendary German climber Hermann Buhl lost his life, one of the greatest in history. He was simply walking the slope when the snow gave way beneath him, and he vanished into the glacier. Leila Peak itself isn't a mountain in the usual sense. It's a spire, a steep pyramid stabbing the sky like a blade, razor-sharp ridges, sheer faces dropping hundreds of meters almost straight down. It's breathtaking and terrifying. Look at the photos. This isn't the gentle kind of mountain kids draw. These are slopes where you can't stand without protection, places where one wrong move means falling into the void. Almost every ascent of Leila is a technical climb on near vertical rock and ice. You don't walk here, you climb, you hook, you anchor, you trust every inch of rope. This is a peak that demands absolute skill and focus. And one more detail: the heat. The summer of 2025 in Pakistan brought record-breaking warmth. Even high among the snow peaks, the air was mild. Sounds good, right? Warmth instead of freezing cold. But in the mountains, it's the opposite. When it's warm, the ice melts. The rocks that used to be frozen in place begin to move. They loosen, slide, and fall. Rockfall becomes constant, unpredictable, deadly. On Leila Peak, that danger is multiplied. The slopes are so steep that falling stones gain terrifying speed. You might not even hear them coming, just a single impact, and it's over. Reinhold Messner, a name every climber knows, the first person to summit all 14 8,000ers, a legend, an icon, a man who understands mountains better than anyone alive. When asked about Laura Dahlmeier and Leila Peak, he said, "Leila Peak is very steep and difficult. Still, Mrs. Dalmire, as far as I know her background, should have no problem reaching the summit, even by a demanding route." It sounds like praise, but pay attention to the words very steep and difficult. Messner doesn't hand out compliments lightly. He rarely calls anything difficult unless it truly is, even for professionals. So, when he says it, it means one thing. This mountain doesn't forgive mistakes. July 28th, 2025. Early morning. Laura Dahlmeier and Marina Kraus begin their climb. Both are experienced. Both know exactly what they're doing. This isn't a hike. It's an ascent of one of the most technically demanding peaks in the Caracorum. They climb as a team, tied together by a single rope. Standard practice. One leads, the other follows. That rope between them is their lifeline. If one slips, the other must hold the fall. Must, but not always can. Laura and Marina choose the alpine style. Minimal gear, maximum speed. No heavy packs stuffed with tents and sleeping bags. No week's worth of food. Just the essentials. Ropes, pitons, harnesses. Light and fast. That's the philosophy. Move quickly, don't linger, use the weather window. German climbers love this approach. Fast up, fast down. No fixed camps, no long acclimatization. You climb while the weather holds. You take your shot when the door is open. But alpine style has a dark side. If something goes wrong, there's no backup, no tent to wait out a storm, no sleeping bag to survive the cold, no time to wait for rescue. You either handle it yourself or you don't. Laura and Marina climbed higher. The slope was steeper than the photos ever showed. Every step demanded focus. Every movement was deliberate. They were on a near vertical wall, hands gripping small holds, boots searching for purchase, ice axes biting into the surface. But something felt wrong. The snow was softer than it should have been. At that altitude, it's usually firm, compact, solid enough to trust. Now, it crumbled beneath each step, wet, slushy, water seeping into their boots. The heat, the same record-breaking heat meteorologists had warned about, had reached even here, nearly 20,000 feet up. The sun hammered the slope, ice began to melt. Rocks that had been frozen solid the day before started to loosen, to move. Laura noticed the first warning. A rock whistled past, then another. Small ones, fist-sized, but fast. Fast enough to shatter a helmet, to break ribs, to slice through a rope like a blade. They looked at each other. Marina nodded. Laura understood. Both did. It was a bad sign. Still, they pushed on, just a little higher. The summit was close now, almost within reach. They climbed to about 19,000 feet, only 1,000 feet to the top, a few hours more, maybe less. But the rockfall grew constant. At first, 1 or 2 an hour, then every few minutes, then non-stop. You could hear them breaking loose above. You could hear the whistle in the air. You press yourself into the slope, hoping the next one misses. It's roulette. You don't know where the next stone will hit. You can't predict it. You can only hope it's not yours. Later, Marina Kraus recalled, "We knew we were technically capable. We were confident the climb was possible. But before reaching the summit, we decided not to take the risk and began to descend. It was the right decision, the professional decision. The summit isn't going anywhere. The mountains will always be there, but you might not. And then, no summit will matter at all. In mountaineering, there's a rule. The summit is only halfway. The real goal is to make it back alive. Most tragedies happen on the way down. When you're tired, when your guard drops, when you think the worst is over." Laura and Marina turned around. They made the decision to descend. The right decision, the one that saves lives. It should have saved theirs too. They began the descent, slowly, carefully. Marina led the way, lower on the slope. Laura followed at a distance. Descending a vertical face isn't just walking downhill. It's a series of technical moves. You drive an ice screw into the wall, thread the rope, lower yourself a few dozen feet, pull the rope free, place another screw, and repeat. It's called rappelling. Slow, controlled, safe. If everything goes right. Marina cleared the first section, then the second. She reached the next anchor point, clipped in, and shouted up, "Ready, you can come down." Laura started her third rappel, and that's when everything went wrong. Imagine this. You've made all the right calls. You turned back from the summit. You chose safety. You're careful, step by step, doing everything by the book. You're almost down. And then the mountain reminds you, sometimes doing everything right isn't enough. Sometimes the mountain decides. Marina was below, secured to the anchor, belaying, everything by plan. Laura was descending toward her, the third rappel. Routine now. They'd done it twice already. A few more like this, and they'd be safe. A couple of hours more, and the danger would be behind them. Marina looked up. She saw Laura, calm, deliberate, sliding down the rope with the focus of a pro. Then, movement above. Something broke loose, a rock. Not small, not a fist-sized one, a boulder. It fell with terrifying speed. The slope was nearly vertical. It didn't roll, it dropped like a projectile. Marina shouted, but sound couldn't outrun stone. The rock struck Laura, direct hit, right in the head. Even through the helmet, the impact was brutal. Her body snapped against the wall, then went still. Just hung there, motionless, suspended on the rope. Marina called her name. Once, twice, 3 times, nothing. No answer, no movement. Her arms hung limp at her sides. Later, Marina would say, "I called her name, but there was only silence. I saw the rock hit her head." From that moment, she didn't move again. There were no signs of life. Marina tried to think, tried to act. She looked up. Laura was maybe 30 meters above, maybe a little more. A short distance, 5 minutes of climbing under normal conditions. But this wasn't normal. The wall was vertical. To reach Laura, she'd need a rope, a long one. And the rope was with Laura, the same rope she was hanging from. Marina checked what she had left. It wasn't enough. Alpine style, minimal gear. The same choice that made the climb fast and elegant now turned into a trap. But that wasn't all. The rocks kept falling. First one, then another, then another. They tore past Marina. One slammed into the slope beside her. Another sliced through the air just a few feet from her head. The mountain had come alive. The heat had done its work. The ice melted. The stones broke free. And now they were falling, endlessly, unpredictably. Marina understood. If she tried to climb back up to Laura, she'd be hit, almost certainly. She'd be moving straight up an open face, fully exposed. Sooner or later, one of those rocks would find her. She tried for hours. She searched for another route, a way around the danger zone. She shouted Laura's name again and again. Maybe she was still alive. Maybe she was in shock. Maybe she'd wake up. But Laura didn't answer. She hung from the rope, motionless, like a rag doll. And the rocks kept coming, more often, larger. Marina made a decision, the hardest of her life. She couldn't reach Laura. She couldn't help her here. The only chance was to bring help. Rescuers, a helicopter, people with the right gear who could climb up and pull Laura off the wall. But to call for help, she had to get down. She had to reach the base, get a signal, alert someone, fast. Every minute mattered. If Laura was alive, she had a massive head injury. She needed medical help, urgently. Hours, maybe minutes, could decide everything. Marina started down. Alone. She left Laura hanging on the face of Leila Peak, at about 18,700 feet. No movement. Maybe unconscious. Maybe already gone. That decision would be debated later. People would ask, how could she leave her partner? Why not try again? But those asking had never stood on a vertical wall under a storm of rock. They'd never watched boulders explode a meter from their head. They'd never had to choose between 2 deaths. Marina made it down. Other climbers found her and helped her reach the base camp. She sent the distress call immediately, and that's when the rescue began. A rescue that, as it turned out, was doomed from the start. But that comes later. For now, what matters is this. Laura Dahlmeier was still hanging on the face of Leila Peak at 18,700 feet, alone. Whether conscious or not, no one knew. Whether alive, no one knew. Night fell. The temperature dropped below freezing. The wind picked up, cutting through the dark. Laura had no tent, no sleeping bag, no way to stay warm. Alpine style. And only later, days later, one fact would come to light. A fact that changes how you see everything. Laura had written a will, before the expedition, clear, precise, no ambiguity. It said, "In the event of a tragedy, no one should risk their life trying to rescue me. No one. Not friends, not partners, not professional rescuers. If the conditions were too dangerous, leave her where she fell." It wasn't an impulse, not emotion, a conscious decision. Laura knew exactly where she was going. She knew the risks, and she accepted them, fully, on herself, only on herself. She didn't want anyone dying to bring back her body, didn't want someone's mother to lose a son, didn't want someone's wife to become a widow, didn't want someone's children to grow up without a father. Laura Dahlmeier left this world the way she lived, with discipline, with responsibility, and with respect for other people's lives, even in the face of her own death. Marina Kraus sent the distress call the moment she reached safety. She acted fast, professionally, exactly as she'd been trained. In the Alps, that's all it takes. You call the rescue service, and within half an hour, maybe an hour, a helicopter is in the air, modern, powerful, flown by pilots who navigate mountains every day, with trained rescuers on board. They lift the injured climber off the wall, fly them to a hospital. The whole operation takes a couple of hours, sometimes less. People survive the worst accidents simply because help arrives in time. That's what Marina expected, by instinct. She was used to the Alps, to German efficiency, to Swiss helicopters. But this wasn't Germany. It wasn't Austria. It wasn't Switzerland. It was Pakistan. The first request went out. Urgent helicopter rescue, climber injured, altitude 18,700 feet. The reply came quickly, but it wasn't the one she hoped for. The helicopter couldn't take off. Weather, low visibility, rain, strong wind. The same weather that had forced Laura and Marina to abandon the summit now made rescue impossible. What felt like an inconvenience on the slope was, up here, a death sentence for aviation. A helicopter can't fly blind. Not in the mountains, not at that altitude. One gust could slam it into the wall. Clouds covered the peaks. The pilot couldn't even see where to fly. It would be suicide. "We wait for a window," came the message. "As soon as it clears, we fly." But when would it clear? An hour? 3? The next morning? No one knew, and Laura still hung on the face of Leila Peak. Maybe alive, maybe bleeding, maybe already fading from the cold. Every minute mattered, but the helicopter didn't come. So they made another decision. If they couldn't reach her from the air, they would go on foot. 2 teams formed, 4 elite climbers, 3 Americans and 1 German, most likely Thomas Huber, a legend in the mountaineering world. Alongside them, 2 local porters, men who knew these mountains by heart. 6 people, experienced, strong, determined. They set out toward Laura, on foot, following the same route she and Marina had climbed. But the ascent took time, a lot of time. The slope was steep, technically demanding. You couldn't just rush upward. Every move required protection, placing pitons, fixing ropes, securing each step. They climbed, meter by meter, hour by hour, and then darkness. In the mountains, night falls fast. The sun slips behind a ridge, and within half an hour, you can't see a thing. Climbing in the dark is suicide. You can fall, lose your route, step into a hidden crevasse. The rescuers stopped, set up a camp, waited for morning, night, the first night. Laura spent it on the wall, alone. If she was still alive, she had no way to stay warm. The temperature plunged well below 0. The wind cut through everything. No tent, no sleeping bag. Just a thin alpine jacket. A human body can't endure that for long. A few hours, hypothermia sets in, then frostbite. Then, one by one, the organs begin to shut down. Dawn. The rescuers moved again, higher, but the weather didn't improve. It got worse. Wind stronger, visibility lower, rocks still falling. They tried. They truly tried. But the slope wouldn't let them through. The rockfall was relentless. The risk, too high. The president of the Alpine Club of Pakistan made a statement. Laura remains at high altitude. Her chances of survival are 50-50. Her life depends on the mercy of the weather. 50-50. It sounded hopeful, but that was diplomacy. Everyone understood the truth. After a night on an exposed face without shelter, the odds were almost 0. The next day, July 29th, a helicopter finally made it over the area. The weather had cleared, barely enough for a short reconnaissance flight. The pilot saw her. Laura was still there, hanging on the rope, motionless. No signs of life, they reported. But how can you tell from that distance, from the air? Maybe she was unconscious, maybe too weak to move. Still, the message went out. At the very least, she was gravely injured. No one had reached her body. No one had checked for a pulse. No one had seen the wound. No one had tried to help. And that's when things took a turn. A decision many would later call premature. The rescue operation was called off, quickly, decisively. By the evening of July 29th, just 24 hours after the incident, the mission was officially over. The reasons were stated clearly: dangerous conditions on Leila Peak, continuous rockfall, worsening weather. Recovering the body was declared impossible. But the key line was this: based on the reported severity of the injuries, it was assumed that Dalmire died instantly. Assumed, not confirmed. Assumed. The rescuers were ordered to turn back. Helicopters returned to base. Operation closed. And the suggestion to involve international teams, with specialized pilots and high-altitude rescue units from other countries, was never even discussed, not once, as if that option didn't exist. Thomas Huber, one of the climbers who had tried to reach Laura, later said, "Such a rescue would have been too dangerous for the team, and we all knew Laura would never have wanted that. She was a mountain girl, and now she rests on a beautiful mountain." Beautiful words, respectful words. But there's another truth. In the Alps, she would have lived. In Germany, in Switzerland, in Austria, a helicopter would have reached her in hours. She would have been lifted off the wall, flown to a hospital, operated on. Yes, the injury was grave. Yes, survival was uncertain. But there was a chance. Leila Peak isn't that kind of place. It's not where help arrives. It's where the mountains always win. July 30th. Germany woke up to the kind of news no one ever wants to hear. The official statement: Laura Dahlmeier, dead. TV anchors spoke softly. Sports channels played archive footage. Pyeongchang, gold, the flag, the anthem, her smile. That same smile that once held a whole lifetime ahead. Federation pages turned black. Colleagues, coaches, rivals, short, honest words. She was an example. She always followed her own path. We can't believe it. No interviews, just silence. In Garmisch-Partenkirchen, her hometown, candles appeared outside the biathlon center. People came on their own. No announcements, no ceremony. Someone brought a ski pole. Someone, a carabiner. Someone just stood there in silence. That silence said more than any speech. Laura's family asked that her wishes be respected. No recovery mission. She had said it herself. No one should risk their life for her. The mountains were her home. Now she would remain there. Her loved ones didn't ask for her body to be brought back. They understood. It was her choice. Laura once wrote that in the mountains, a person becomes real. No cameras, no medals, no expectations. If life ends there, she said, then it's fair. German newspapers ran her photos on the front page. Captions were simple: rest in peace. Stronger than the wind, the mountain that took gold. Even the tabloids grew quiet, a rare moment of respect. Days later, the Biathlon Federation announced that the Kurpark in Garmisch-Partenkirchen would be renamed in her honor. Not a stadium, not a trophy, just a park, the one where she trained as a child, where it all began. Neighbors remembered her not as a star, but as a person. An ordinary girl, always said hello, loved tea after training, hated interviews, smiled even when she was exhausted. A week later, there was a private memorial service. No press, no live stream, just friends, family, neighbors, photos, music, and long silence. Exactly the way she would have wanted it. Later, Thomas Huber, the climber who had tried to reach her, came to the memorial. He brought a stone from Leila Peak and placed it beside her plaque. "Now she's part of the mountains," he said, "forever." In the mountains there are no men or women, no titles, no medals, no applause. Only cold, wind, and a human being, alone against the height. Picture it: miles of emptiness above, ancient ice beneath your boots, thin air burning your lungs. Your heart pounds in your temples. And still, someone takes another step forward. Women too. Not for records, for honesty. for that raw, undeniable feeling of being alive. They climb to where breath ends, carrying the same weight, the same fear, the same responsibility, and sometimes they pay the same price. Each of them knew the risk. Each of them made the choice, and still, the mountains took them, one by one. Hannelore Schmatz, 1979, Everest. She and her husband Ferdinand reached the summit, a moment that should have been the final triumph. But the real test came on the way down from the South Col. Their strength was gone. The wind stripped away the heat. Every step felt like a child's first. Hannelore decided to sit, just for a minute. At that altitude, just a minute is like cutting the engine mid-flight. Minutes turned into stillness. For years, climbers passed the place where she sat, as if she were still watching them climb. To many, she became a silent warning that rest on the edge can be a trap, not relief. In time, the mountain took her body, but the legend stayed. Even now, guides speak of Hannelore as a sign carved into the route itself, a reminder to save your strength for the way back and never mistake exhaustion for safety. Her ascent and her final descent, we've told with care and detail. That story lives in its own film, already on the channel, Natalia Nogovitsina, 2025, Victory Peak, Kyrgyzstan. A mountain where the wind changes plans more often than people do. One of the most vicious 7,000ers on the planet. Natalia was descending after a storm, her legs heavy, the air thin, the rope team counting steps. Then, an injury on the way down. Visibility dropped to zero, snow packed into her goggles, the trail vanished. A search began. Drones, radio beacons, rescue groups moving from both above and below. Day after day, weather windows lasting only a few hours. Every attempt was a gamble. Italian climber Luca Sinigaglia heard about Natalia's disappearance, turned around, and went back up to help. He never returned. That's the cold math of altitude. Good intentions don't always beat the mountain. The operation dragged on for nearly 2 weeks. The base camp kept adjusting plans, but the storms tore through every schedule. Natalia was never found. Victory Peak kept repeating the same truth. Coming back is harder than going up, and everyone who climbs there after her knows it by heart. If you want the full day-by-day breakdown, that story has its own detailed episode on our channel. Shreya Shah Chlorphene, 2012, Everest. Born in Nepal, but climbing under the Canadian flag, chasing a dream that gleamed in headlines. It was one of those traffic jam seasons. Dozens of climbers clipped to the same fixed ropes, queues forming on narrow ridges. At 8,000 meters, that's not just uncomfortable. It's a ticking clock. Oxygen tanks run dry. The body burns through every bit of strength. Shreya moved slowly but stubbornly. At the summit, she smiled for the camera, that fleeting moment that costs years of training. Then came the second half of the climb, the most dangerous one. Crowds piled up. The pace collapsed. Her body begged for warmth and air. On the descent, she fell out of rhythm. Her energy drained, coordination failed. Teammates tried to help, but at that altitude, long pauses mean death. Later, rescuers found her body and brought it down. Too late. Her story became almost a case study. The summit isn't the finish line. It's the turning point where everything is decided. And on Everest, that rule is written larger than anywhere else. For those who want the full breakdown, route, timing, the chain of mistakes that season, we've covered it in a separate episode. These 3 stories are different. Different countries, different years, different people. But they share the same truth. The mountain doesn't just test your skill. It tests your choices. And yes, you can find each of these stories on our channel, with maps, timelines, and a full breakdown of the decisions made up there, where every move matters. None of these stories are about death. They're about determination. Different places, different times, but the same essence. None of them climb for fame. They climb to touch the edge of what a human being can endure. And now, Laura Dahlmeier joins them. Not just a champion, not just a strong athlete, a person who lived honestly and followed the path her heart chose. She knew about these women. She knew how these climbs could end, and still she went. Not for victory, but to understand who she really was. For her, the mountain wasn't an enemy. It was a mirror that reflects only one thing: how much risk you're willing to take for something real. The mountain doesn't care who you are, It doesn't ask if you're a man or a woman. It only asks one question. Do you have the strength to stay yourself when there's nothing left but ice and emptiness? If this story moved you, leave a like. It helps YouTube show it to others who haven't heard about Laura yet. And tell us in the comments whose story in the mountains touched you the most, so we can keep the memory of those who never came back.